Singapore, a city-state situated at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, is best known for its wealth. It is among the richest countries in the world. Since the country got its independence back in 1965, there has been a significant growth in its gross domestic product, or GDP. As of now, Singapore's GDP per capita is one of the highest in the world. Even though Singapore is a small country, it has defied all odds to become one of the richest countries in the world. Apart from Singapore being the largest port in Southeast Asia and the busiest in the world, this country's economy, life expectancy, and employment rate is higher than many other developed countries in the world. Economists have been amazed at how Singapore gained such riches, considering it didn't have the luxury of natural resources such as oil, gas, or coal. So how did this tiny island end up being one of the richest countries in the world? And how rich is it? How have its citizens benefited from this wealth? In this video, we will discuss how Singapore got so rich. Be sure to stay tuned until the end. How rich is Singapore? A perfect example of the saying, from rags to riches, can be felt through Singapore's progress. But how rich is Singapore? While there are numerous ways to measure a country's wealth and economic progress, one of the most trusted ones is GDP. Over the past 20 years, Singapore's GDP has grown by 183%. In addition, Singapore's riches are evident in how much money the country holds. That's not all. Singapore is among the 11 countries in the world with a credit rating of AAA, a strong indication that Singapore has great credit worthiness. Reasons why Singapore is so rich. You've probably heard how Singapore is run like a corporation and how successful it has become. But how did Singapore reach the point of being one of the richest places in the world? Though not exhaustive, here are some reasons why Singapore has gone against all odds to become so rich. Gaining independence. Before its independence, Singapore was a British colony. During this time, nothing significant was happening in terms of the economy and well-being of its citizens. Singapore's turning point came on 9th August 1965, when the country officially gained its independence. After independence, it was expelled by Malaysia and established itself as an independent nation. Fortunately, this worked for Singapore. Racial tension began to abate, a national defense architecture was developed, as well as the economy. As a result, by the early 1970s, Singapore had already joined the Republic of Korea, Taiwan, and the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region as newly industrializing economies in Asia. After gaining independence, Singapore was able to focus more on economic freedom than most Asian countries, making it a crucial financial and manufacturing center. Beyond that, Singapore provided the best environment to nurture different kinds of businesses. For instance, businesses were not subject to many capital restrictions, taxes were low, and immigration policies were very favorable. With that kind of freedom, it's difficult for a business not to succeed. Ease of starting businesses. Singapore is one of the best places to start a business. It is even said that you can start your own company within a few hours, with the maximum period being 4 weeks. As a matter of fact, it's possible to become the CEO of your new company within 1 business day if you have all the necessary requirements. The ease of starting and running a business in Singapore has seen a lot of people opt to start their businesses there. Others who are operating in other places choose to relocate there, while still others decide to have their headquarters here. As all of those businesses struggle to get into Singapore's economy, the country continues to get richer. Its citizens get jobs and in turn, their livelihoods improve. All these developments contribute to making Singapore wealthier. Taking successful steps. Singapore did not just become rich. There's a story behind its success that many people know nothing about. Amongst the people who have greatly contributed to Singapore's success is a man by the name of Lee Kuan Yew, who was a member of the Malaysian Parliament for Singapore. During his era, he did a lot to develop this country in terms of improving its economic growth. Also, his government had an obligation to direct state funds to vital domestic sectors like shipbuilding, banking, and electronics. Yew believed in promoting the well-being of the people. He ensured that the government provided housing and health care to all citizens. He felt that this would help the economy in the long run. His plan worked. With affordable shelter and health care, people were freed up to be productive members of society, contributing to the growth of their economy. Promising housing policies. Owning a home even to the working class is a challenge that many people have failed to accomplish, and to many, renting is the only option. However, there are many benefits one gets from owning a home as opposed to leasing. For example, you are more at peace when living in your home because you won't need to consult anyone when making major decisions such as renovating. The majority of Singaporeans are homeowners. Initially, a huge number of Singaporeans lived in the numerous slums around the country. The environment was not favorable, and so their performance, even at work, was not one to emulate. But things took a turning point when the Housing Board created favorable housing development policies. Slowly but surely, Singapore grew from being a slum-dwelling place to a megacity. Plans were made for citizens to leave the slum life and move to better houses with better amenities. With better living conditions, citizens were able to take care of themselves. Their health improved, and they were happier and at peace to contribute positively to the economy. After people started living in better conditions, their energies were focused on making their lives even better. They were more willing to find jobs and contribute to the growth of their country's economy. This boosted Singapore's economy tremendously. Incorrupt government. Many countries would love to reach where Singapore is, but due to corrupt leaders, that will only remain a dream. Corruption is the main culprit of poverty in many countries. Before its independence, Singapore was as corrupt as many other countries, but thankfully, Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's former prime minister, changed this trend. He instead brought change that is felt still today. In fact, it is through this change that people started moving out of slums to better living standards. Yew's government put strong measures to combat corruption, and as it is now, Singapore is among the top 10 countries with little to no corruption cases. Policies have been put in place to put corruption at bay and ultimately prevent it from occurring altogether. Hence, the funds that could have ended in the wrong people's hands are put into good use. As a result, citizens' livelihood improves as well as that of the country at large. In short, Singapore's incorrupt government is what has seen Singapore succeed and even surpass other European and Asian countries. Developed technological sector. One of the reasons Singapore has greatly succeeded economically is through developing its technological sector. It is through the effort this government has put into its advanced technological infrastructure that has seen Singapore work with several international companies. Furthermore, the government of Singapore encourages free trade, which enables the country to attract giant companies to do business. These are just some of the investments which significantly benefit the country. Educating the citizens. The government of Singapore has put in enough resources to ensure its citizens are educated. Thus, they don't need to hire skilled labor from outside because it's readily available in the country, meaning that Singaporeans will have a permanent source of income and the government won't struggle to look for labor elsewhere. The same education has helped both the government and its citizens to use their resources efficiently for their own benefit. Is Singapore's wealth felt by Singaporeans? Now that Singapore as a country seems to be doing quite well, it's normal to wonder if the citizens are also doing well. Thankfully, the residents of Singapore are also enjoying the country's riches as individuals. Getting a well-paid full-time or part-time job there is not as complicated as in other places. Plus, the environment is favorable for growing a business. So whether you are eyeing a venture into the corporate world of startup a business, chances are you'll succeed. Although there are Singaporeans who are not wealthy, compared to people in other parts of the world, the poor Singaporeans are doing far better than even some rich people in certain countries. Therefore, it would be correct to say that Singaporeans are rich the same way Singapore is. Furthermore, even though the cost of living is high in Singapore, the residents are fortunate enough because the government does everything within its power to combat inequality. It does so by using government transfers such as the Central Provident Fund or CPF top-ups and the defining goods and services tax vouchers as a way to redistribute wealth to the country's low-income earners. Beyond that, thanks to the reserves the government has accumulated over the years, it isn't usually a hard task to provide for the needy. Wealthy Singapore. Singapore may be classified as a small country compared to other places around the world, but its riches can't be compared to many countries either. Through good leadership and many worthwhile decisions by both leaders and residents, Singapore has gone from being home to one of the world's worst slums to being one of the richest countries in the world. Other countries can emulate the steps Singapore has followed to reach where Singapore is, or at least come close. What do you think about Singapore's methods? Do you think it would work for other countries? And make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of our videos.